Hi everyone, this is Laura Metzger with Usborne Books, and I'm going to go over some of these nonfiction books that I absolutely love. We'll start with the babies. This is My Wild Animal World, and it's very cool. It comes in a little package, opens it up, you get 9 books in this great little package. The books are little and thick and easy for the kids to page through, chew on. They can't damage them. There's also a farm book in this series as well. Then you have 1, 2, 3 Counting, which is a great book for those babies that are doing their tummy time, or even those toddlers. But this thing opens up and they can count, look at colors, identify shapes. Then we have the pop-up books. This is Pop-Up Jungle. There's also other ones like Pop-Up Dinosaur, but as you can see, the pages pop out when you're reading to the kids. Then we have Usborne Very First Words, and this helps kids identify things that they see every single day. Baby, mom, woman, boy, girl, colors, clothes, food, things that go. The kids would recognize things they see on a daily basis. Then we have Usborne's Peek Inside, and I have the Usborne Animal Homes book. So you can see where these animals live, do the flaps, have the kids help you as you're reading. There's holes in the page for the little bird houses. Fun for the kids. Next we have Lift the Flap, Question and Answer, and kids love these books because it helps them answer questions that they might not think about or that they think about on a regular basis. So to begin, there's how big is a raindrop? How does water get into the sky? And so when these kids ask the question or you're talking through it, they can lift the flap and find out the answer. Flippy Floppy, Lift the Flap, Ocean Animals. So this is a great book for the kids to follow from left to right. So as they go through, they can open up the flaps and find out what they're looking for, and have something to do while you're reading the story. Then there's the Look Inside series, and this is Look Inside Food. And this book actually walks you through from farm to table. So teaching those kids where the food comes from through pictures, flaps, interaction. Fun book. Then we have Lift the Flap, Introduction to First Math. So it's actually Lift the Flap First Math, but it goes over counting. They can use the flaps, look underneath, see 2 of something, adding, subtraction. There's some shapes, counting. So great introduction to math for kids. And next one is Lift the Flap, Questions and Answers about Animals. So this is a super fun book. Where, what, why, when, how. So where do birds go in the winter? Where do bears go in the summer? How come dinosaurs were so big? So underneath each question there is a flap, and the kids can look and see and find out the answer. Then we have the very first book of things to spot out and about. So there's many books in this series of very first things to spot, but this helps kids identify, can you see the cat riding the bicycle, identify their colors, shapes. It's a great learning tool and fun at the same time. Then we have Too Many Questions. So this book has a lot of fun questions for both the parent and the child. There's a fun story about a mouse, but then at the end there's many questions and answers. Do dogs dream? What do worms eat? Why don't stars fall out of the sky? So this book is called Too Many Questions. Then we have these great pocket books. So as you can tell, they're not really big, so they can travel easily, go in the car, go in the backpack if you're going somewhere. There's a couple other titles in this. I have Birds and Insects and Mammals, but there's also Birds and Reptiles. But this is like a little travel encyclopedia. So there's pictures and a little description of each thing when you flip through on every single page. A little bit larger, but along the same lines, there's the Beginner's Learning library, and I have horses, cats, and dogs, but as you can see, when you open it up, these are hardcover books, so nice and sturdy, but there's great pictures and words about the subject matter, and they're only $4.99 each, so a great bargain. Then you have the survival series, and so this is geared more towards the boys. But there are different scenarios if someone were in a situation of things that they would need to survive in, and it talks them through that. So diving into danger if your car goes underwater, surviving in a temperate forest. So it's really an interesting thing. I find myself going through it and reading things as well. Then you have the Special Forces. So this one talks about Arctic action, many things, parachute raids, Navy marauders. So there's many things to look through in here if you have someone that's interested in armed forces. Then you have the True Stories line. So there's quite a few books in this series as well. I have a few here: True Stories of Ghosts, the True Stories of the Heroes, and True Stories of Crime and Detection. So if you have a kiddo that really likes to watch those crime TV series or read about it, this is great chapter reading. And so there's not a lot of pictures in it, but it's an easy read for those kiddos that are getting into the chapter stories. Then we have the story of inventions, and so this talks about how toilets were made and dishwashers were made and helicopters, cars. So it's an interesting way to learn about how things were made that we use on a daily basis, if our lives would be very different without. Next we have the Big Book series. So there's quite a few books in this series, but I have a couple here to show you, and this one is the Big Book of Big Bugs. And so the fun thing about these big books is the pages really expand out, so you can really read and see and get close. And my 3-year-old loves to read these books, especially with grandma or mom or dad, someone that he can sit on the lap and talk about. So the Big Book of the Big Body is great. It talks about the muscular and the skeletal systems, but it folds out so you can get a really great idea about everything that's going on in your body. Next we have, this is the last of the flap books, so this is a little bit more advanced, but it talks about how things work. There's over 90 flaps to lift, but it gets a little bit more in depth. So you can see this one talks about a car engine, so you can open up the flap and read about it, or a bicycle, tractors, instruments, fire engines, so lots of great things in there. Then there's lift the flap fractions and decimals. So this is if someone is having a little bit of difficulty understanding the concept of fractions and decimals. So it breaks it down in easy to understand things. Pizza, sandwiches, cheese slices. So just a different way to explain that to the kids. Along that same line, if you have a kiddo that isn't really into math or science, this is not a math book and this is not a science book. So it breaks it down. There's different activities that you can do in there to learn about science, about math, that might not be along the same lines as what they were being taught in school. It helps them understand the concepts a little bit better. Then we have Mysteries and Marvels of Nature, and so this is a great book that has wonderfully vivid photos and talks about the animals and nature in general, but great colors, great photos, and it's internet linked, so you can go on the internet and read more. Then we have 100 Things to Know About Science. So it really breaks down the subject matter, gives you a good idea of things that are happening in outer space, but things you might not necessarily know. Volcanoes, bridges, oil, the largest and smallest organisms. So great things in this that you can read and learn and just pique your interest a little bit more if you need it. There's a few reference books that Usborne has, and this was the Children's Encyclopedia. So I remember having one as a kid, and I flipped through it quite frequently, but great pictures, nice and vivid, just some wording to learn a little bit more about the topics. Then we have Genes and DNA, a reference book. It's a hardcover book. It's also internet linked. But there's some great pictures and things to learn about in here. So this would be appropriate for middle to high schoolers, even potentially into college if you need a little bit more understanding on a subject. Going a little bit deeper is the Usborne Science Encyclopedia. So this one has even more information, but really nice pictures in it, so you can really have it right in front of your face when you're looking at it. And then the World Wars. This is a nice hardcover book. Talks a lot about the history of wars that we've been involved in. So if you have a history fanatic, this would be a great book for them to have on their bedstand or even on your coffee table if you're going to read it. So thank you.